Hi friends, my name is Hannah and my reading is not going very well. I have slumped. I feel like a broken record, but I've slumped, and I'm sad about it. I went on holiday. I have not been forcing it. I've watched a lot of TV. I've listened to some podcasts. But you know what? Now I'm really ready to return. I'm really ready to return to the land of the reading. And I just thought I'm going to start a vlog so that you in there can act as my gentle accountability. Because I think now, by this point, it's the 29th of October today. I have read one single book this month. And that's okay. That's really fine. It happens. But I would love for that not to be what happens in November. So I think what's happened is I'm now out of the habit of reading. I am a person who struggles to create habits anyway. And I find breaking habits exceptionally easy. So easy. So fucking easy. So I thought I would, this isn't quite gonna be like the weekly reading vlog videos that I've had on my channel previously. I would love it if it ended up feeling like that. But for now, I think this is just going to be, let's see if I can find time and brain to read. I said I've only read one book. That isn't 100% true. I've only finished one book, but I have been reading things. I am very close to finishing The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa, which I mostly read while I was in Japan because I wanted to read a Japanese book while I was in Japan. And I have read 100-ish pages of A Wheel of Time book. Don't ask me which one. I can't remember the titles at the best of times. But I'll finish the Yoko Ogawa. I may park The Wheel of Time for now. I mean, I've already parked it, but I may continue to park it and pick up something else. I do want to pick up some non-fiction. I've just recorded, eagle-eyed among you may recognise this outfit from last week's video. I've just recorded the video that went up last week talking about non-fiction books, and it has reminded me that I've got a number of non-fiction books that I do really want to read. I particularly want to start reading a Nick Cave book because I'm going to see Nick Cave on Saturday. So at worst case scenario, I don't read anything for a couple of days and then I take you to Leeds to see Nick Cave. That's the worst possible outcome for this video, is that we just do that. And I pop up every day to say, I haven't read anything. But yeah, I feel like if you've not been on my channel before, this is a real downer of a start. Sorry. I have faith. I think things are going to pick up. I think my reading rejuvenation is just around the corner. I really hope it's just around the corner. So I'm going to go now. And it's like 9 p.m. I'm going to wash my face. I'm going to have a nice sleepy time, bedtime drink. And I might try and finish reading The Memory Police, which I am enjoying medium. I'm medium enjoying it. I'll chat to you about it if I actually manage to finish it. I randomly start talking about a book that I haven't introduced you to in the next clip. Aftermath by Rachel Cusk is a memoir, non-fiction reflection, reflective piece of writing that Rachel Cusk wrote in the aftermath of the breakdown of her marriage. There is your context. Good evening, afternoon. What's 5:30? Evening, afternoon. I'm gonna give this a go, recording an update for you while I make soup. But it is Halloween. And there are a lot of trick-or-treaters out. And I have turned my light on because I did do the neighbourly thing and buy the sweets for the kids. But I've just had a spate. I tried to record this and literally every time I pressed record, the door went. And Lewin, my dog, is going absolutely fucking nuts. So we'll see. I'm running low on sweets already, so I've probably got about 2 more visits before I'm turning off my light and I'm done for the evening. So we will see how we get on. But yeah, reading is happening. Woohoo! I have started listening to Aftermath by Rachel Cusk, which I'm enjoying. I'm not enjoying as much as I thought I would from the first bit that I read. I thought it was going to be a bit more about writing, but that was kind of just a loose metaphor in the first chapter. So there's 8 chapters and each of them kind of have a central metaphor, and some of them or kind of idea that they're exploring. There's the door. Oh my god, that was like a 4-year-old dressed as a pumpkin. Oh my god. So yeah, each chapter is almost more like an essay that's kind of got its own little theme, and some are working for me more than others. Some I'm finding the central motif, metaphor, idea a little like laboured. Like there was one about like where she's having a tooth removed at the dentist, and I'm like, within about 5 sentences, I get it. I get the metaphor, the pain, the loss, the where you have to relearn how to bite, all that stuff. I didn't actually need that to go on for 35 minutes. I kind of got it pretty quickly. But some of them I've kind of enjoyed. There was like one that was a lot about Orestes, Clytemnestra, Agamemnon, that vibe. So, you know me, I like a bit of Greek myth, so I was down for that. But I am going to pause listening to it now because it's only 5 hours and I'm halfway through already. And I don't think it's necessarily the sort of book that benefits from an intensive reading period. And I think that's maybe why I started getting a little bit snippy and niggly about some of the ideas. So I think what the plan is now for the evening, I'm gonna make my slow roast tomato soup, which is actually not for tea, it's for lunch tomorrow. And then I'm gonna have a read. I'm gonna finish The Memory Police, because that I am reading on my BorrowBox account for Newcastle City Libraries. And what I want to do is start listening to Legends and Lattes, if I can, if it's available, on my other library account on BorrowBox, but you can't log into 2 at the same time. That's me down to my final 2 packs of Star Mix. So I've turned the porch light off. We're done. Because I don't want a group of like 3 or 4, and then I've only got 2 things left. Do you know what I mean? So yes, I would really like to listen to, I think what would be a very good vibe is the audiobook of Legends and Lattes, but it's on my other library account, my North Tyneside one. And so I need to finish listening to the stuff I need to finish reading what's on my other account so that I can flip the accounts over, because if I have to keep flipping in and out, it's going to be a pain in the neck. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to finish The Memory Police, possibly start Legends and Lattes if it's available. Otherwise, I might see if I can find something else in the sort of cozy autumnal fantasy space, maybe. But I also think I'm going to read tonight Hex by, oh my god, what's her name? Is it Jenni Fagan? I'll confirm in the next segment. I didn't love this when I did try a chapter, but someone commented and they were emphatic enough about it that made me think, maybe I'll give that another go actually. And it's a novella, it's only like 90 pages. So I thought, and it's a little bit spooky, right? It's like a witch or a Ouija board or like a something, and it's Scottish and it's Halloween. So I thought, okay, what if I just get a novella under my belt? Just read something in this vlog. And that will probably make me feel better about my reading. So that is the plan. You want some tomato, don't you? Good boy, you're fine. You want some tomato? There you go, babe. Okay, good boy. So yeah, I think that is the plan for now. Gonna finish Memory Police. Gonna read Hex. Gonna hopefully get my hands on Legends and Lattes, but I suspect on Halloween it's gonna be taken out. I'm not gonna be able to get it. I should have pre-planned, but never mind. I might even, I might spend a Libro FM credit on it, maybe, because I actually really fancy it now. And I don't really, because I don't read a lot of kind of cozy fantasy. I don't have enough other books like that on my TBR. So I might do a little sample on Libro FM, and if I like it, I'll just use a credit. Because the good thing about my reading slump is that I've been stacking up credits on my Libro FM account because I just haven't really been spending them because I haven't really been listening to audiobooks. So, you know, silver linings. And yeah. Lewin and I did a suitably Halloween-y walk around. Actually, we went to 3 graveyards. There is a walking route where we live that Lou really likes that goes to 3 different graveyards. So I thought, we'll do that as it's Halloween. And yeah, now I'm gonna make some burgers. I'm not gonna make the burgers. I'm gonna cook some burgers. Sad, sad boy. Can you even see him there next to the fridge? He's just climbed up onto the chair, but maybe he's also a ghost. Make this soup, make some burgers, read some books. That is the plan. See you later. We have finished reading The Memory Police. Don't worry, I'm not reviewing it in this appalling lighting. But Legends and Lattes is not going to work for me on audio, unfortunately. So back to the drawing board, because I'm knitting a little sweater vest at the minute. It's extremely cute. And I do fancy an audiobook to, like, see me through. But it's going to have to be back to the drawing board about what I listen to. Hi, this is Editing Hannah. I realised, sorry for the terrible light, I'm editing this vlog and I realised I did finish reading The Memory Police and I never spoke to you about it. I'll probably talk about this more in a wrap up. It's already a book that feels long ago in my brain, but it is about a young woman, a writer, who's living on this quite remote island, I think, and items are disappearing, and they're not like just
disappearing, like getting lost. They are being disappeared centrally by government. And when an item disappears, it's like people don't have any choice about it disappearing. Like they can't choose to remember it. So like if the taste of apple disappears, you will not be able to recall that taste. Even if you bit into an apple, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't, it would be tasteless. It kind of goes, and the mechanism for that is not explained, but I do think it's an interesting metaphor for sort of collective consciousness and collective complicity. The memory police are this sort of authoritarian enforcers of the disappearances, and they are, because there are a small handful of people, not including our main character, but including people that she knows, who the disappearances don't affect, so they continue to remember things even after they've been disappeared. And that's very dangerous, and the government are trying to find those people and sort of round them up because they are getting in the way of their experiment. And I think there were lots of interesting ideas. I think some of the writing was really beautiful. It felt a little, I don't know if it is just because it's quite a short book and it took me quite a long time to read, because I was reading it at my slumpiest of slumps. So take whatever I say now with a big old pinch of salt, because it's possibly contextual to when I was reading it. But it felt like I didn't really get the story. Like I understood the ideas. Sorry, I'm just like holding you, so you're a bit shaky. Forgive. I understood the ideas that were being explored, but the story felt quite aimless. And then punctuating this narrative, there was also a story that the writer is writing. So you have this kind of like nested narrative. And I didn't really feel like that added very much at all. So there were like really interesting ideas, and parts of it were really beautiful and lovely. I just overall, like, I found that it didn't quite have the impact that I think it wanted to have on me. So that was that.
Hi. It's Friday. I've been reading. Isn't that nice? I was in the shop earlier and I saw Diet Coke. I'm not normally a Diet Coke lady, but then I was like, do you know what kind of lady I am? I am a spicy lady and I am a pickle lady. So I'm gonna try that stupid fucking viral Dua Lipa Diet Coke jalapeno pickle drink. Can't remember the ratios. Just gonna make it up. Also, shockingly, I don't currently have pickled cucumbers in my house. So I'm using pickle juice from pickled onions, which is a different vibe, but I really like pickles, so I'm sure it'll be fine. Is that too much? Not enough? Are these pickles? We could do some pickle juice from the jalapenos. How many do we think? I've got a decent spice tolerance. This will be fine. Fuck it. Do we stir? Do we think we stir? That's really good. My only complaint is that it still tastes quite a lot like Diet Coke. I think it needs ice. I think it needs ice. I think it needs more jalapenos. And maybe some more pickle. Excellent. Now we're talking. Right. It's so good. It's like a dirty martini meets a spicy margarita meets a Diet Coke, which is not a drink that I thought I needed in my life, and yet it's great. I like a spicy drink. I like a drink that borders on the savory too. Like love a Bloody Mary. Love a Bloody Mary. So just gonna hang out here with this. Books. I am nearly Ooh. That was a bit of jalapeno. I am nearly finished the Rachel Cusk. Still feeling mostly medium about it. Some interesting ones. I quite liked the last one that I read, which I think is the 7th of the 8 chapters. Some are kind of blurring. But I did read Hex, mostly last night, and then finished it when I got off work today. And I think I made the right call initially about Hex by Jenni Fagan. So it was written as part of, I think, like an anthology or like a project of writers reimagined or wrote in response to figures or points in history and folklore from Scotland. So kind of like reimagining tales and stuff. And so it is a reimagining of a real young girl who was accused of witchcraft in the 1590s, I think, and was killed as part of that, kind of with King James, that whole like era. And it's told in an interesting way. So it's imagining like a modern day woman is conducting a seance and has been sort of called to the cell of this young girl on the night before she's going to be hanged. Which is an interesting kind of cool concept. And it is a short book, so it's like 90 pages. And I found it quite just weirdly a bit empty, but also like very, I think some of the points it was making, I mean, if you've not read a kind of book that is, I guess, sort of looking at the witch trials and applying that to kind of modern day feminist issues, then it might not have felt quite so, like, I just felt like I knew what it was doing from really early on, and that's not necessarily a problem. But I didn't think it did it as well as other books that I've read that kind of
explore that. I found some of the politics and the messaging was quite heavy-handed. And sometimes that's, I'm not at all suggesting that wasn't intentional. I think it was intentional. I just think it didn't really work for me. And so it was a curious balance of feeling like there was a lot of things being said, but the actual story, like I say, curiously empty. There was kind of a twist at the end, but I didn't. Yeah. I mean, it was fine. I'm glad to have read something start to finish. That's been really nice, and I am glad that I did read something a little Halloween-ish, because obviously this girl was not actually a witch. She was just a young girl with very little power who was abused and scapegoated by patriarchy. Shocker. So I did that, but I did, you know how I was like, oh, I can't read Legends and Lattes on audio, that's really sad. And I was like looking through my Everand TBR and going, do I have anything that might fit the cozy bill? And I saw a book on there that I don't remember putting on my TBR, called Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by, oh my goodness, what's his name? This is the problem I find with audiobooks, is because I'm not constantly looking at the cover of the book. I want to say Benjamin Alire Sáenz, I think. And it is a YA book, I think a queer YA book, to be determined, but pretty sure it's gay. And I am having the most delightful time with this audiobook. I am loving it. It's narrated by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I am not a big YA baby, but the one book that I read earlier this month was, or last month now, I guess, was Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher, which is another gay YA book. And maybe that is just, maybe what my brain is saying is we're not quite ready for the grown-up books, but we're lapping up the YA. So I'm loving that. It's about two boys called Aristotle and Dante who are 15 and become friends. One summer they live in El Paso. They're both Mexican American, and it's doing a really, really good job of exploring with a lot of nuance intersectional identities and family dynamics in a way that feels very authentic and very nuanced and very age appropriate for a YA book. I'm really impressed by it. I think it's great. So fab. So I'm going to carry on listening to that now with my spicy pickle Coke, and I'm knitting a sweater vest. And I did this thing that I keep telling myself I'm not going to do. I impulse purchased yarn from the middle aisle of Aldi, of all places, and I don't have enough of it. I don't have enough of it to finish this sweater vest. And I'm so sad. I went back to Aldi today and I looked online, and obviously it's the middle aisle of Aldi, so it's gone. Like, there is no, I cannot get my hands on this wool, and it's a variegated, like, rainbow yarn. There's no way in hell I'm going to find it anywhere. I have looked online. I spent a good 20 minutes. I couldn't even find a good, there's a few good websites that I use sometimes for like yarn matching. Couldn't find anything. And I've knitted about 3/4 of it. And I think what's going to have to happen is that I'm going to have to rip it all back and do like a, because it's just a really simple little like cropped sweater vest. Extremely cute. But I think I'm going to have to make like the collar and the like ribbed band a different color and a different yarn, which does involve ripping back the entire thing. But mostly I knit because I enjoy the meditative action of knitting.
I don't mind if I have to completely restart, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But it's so annoying that I should have just bought an extra ball of this yarn, and I thought, nah. But this is the problem. When you buy yarn without a specific plan for what you're going to do with the yarn, because this is obviously your fault and your problem and nothing to do with me. See you later. Love you. Bye.
Hello. We have been dyed. You can't see it very well in this light, can you? But we are a slightly more consistent orange. I'm running late, so I'm going to the market now with some pals who I haven't seen in ages. So I'm gonna, get a coffee, buy a sweet treat, those sorts of things. And then I'm gonna come back here and get ready to go to Leeds for the Nick Cave concert. I still haven't started that Nick Cave book, but I'm determined that I will get to it. But I have been really eating up Aristotle and Dante. So I finished the first book. There's only 2, sadly. But I finished the first book and then immediately started the sequel. It is charming, lovely, exactly what my brain needed, I think, to ease me back into reading, because it is not difficult. And it is also very, Lin-Manuel Miranda's narration is so engaging that I can be knitting while I'm doing it, and even if I'm counting, I'm still able to follow along. It's not an overly complex story, but it's great, enjoying. So I'm gonna go to the market. I might remember to take some B-roll while I'm there, but also I might just be squeezing Evie and Helen's faces, so who knows. Monday, the weekend, vaporized. So did go to the market, didn't film any of the market, but did eat an amazing deep fried oyster mushroom, Korean spiced burger. Incredible. From Beanie Bun, if you're local. And got my standard cinnamon sugar donut from Glazed, who are a really good vegan bakery in Newcastle. So again, if you're local. And then I went to the market, came back, walked Lewin, and then got the train to Durham to meet my partner after he finished rehearsals, and then we drove to Leeds, and then we saw Nick. And I think what I feel when I watch Nick Cave is what people who have a religion feel like when they engage in their religious stuff. It was great. He's so fucking
He's so fucking cool. I did start reading the Book of Conversations between him and Seán Hagan. I haven't got far enough through in it to make any kind of comment, but he's just such a smart, articulate, cool dude. So that was great. And then I was having such a nice time and I partook of too many beverages and then felt awful yesterday. So I was like great fun on the drive back from Leeds yesterday morning. But we did go to a really great vegan little cafe in Horsforth just outside Leeds, or just like on the edge of Leeds, called Scoffs. And that vegan breakfast did help me. I'd had a vegan breakfast burrito and I had their like full English sort of thing. Very good, very cute. Huge menu. Some of the sandwiches sounded amazing, but we were there too early for a sandwich. I needed like a breakfast thing. Anyway, did that, drove back, got back, and I sort of vegetated on the sofa for a little while, and then we got a curry because I wasn't going to be cooking anything, and we watched The Aviator, which is my partner's kind of like, me and books is him and films, so he's been kind of he's trying to watch all of the Oscar nominated films like ever, and so he wanted to watch The Aviator, which is one of the few Scorsese's that we haven't seen, and it was great. It's a long one. I think we put it off for a while because it was so long. It's like nearly 3 hours, but it doesn't feel like it's nearly 3 hours. It's great, and Cate Blanchett as Katharine Hepburn is so good. And then yeah, I just thought I'd give you a life update. I have been reading in between things. I think I told you I started the sequel of Aristotle and Dante, and I am over halfway through it. Audiobooks definitely like working for me at the minute, partly because I'm really into my knitting project, so it's good to have the audiobook on the go in the background. But I am not enjoying this one anywhere near as much as the first one. I think for two reasons. Firstly, this one's longer, and it does just feel like there's more kind of filler content. And secondly, I love a yarn, okay? I love a yarn, and when a couple get together at the end of a book, then the next book, like, they're already together. So it's exploring a lot more about like some of the family dynamics. It's exploring friendship a lot more. But I am feeling a little like I understand completely the emotional journey that the book is going on for the characters, but the emotional journey is not translating into a kind of story, which I don't normally mind in adult fiction, but in YA is feeling very aimless. So, yeah, I'm not enjoying listening to it, but I'm not as excited about it. This one, it does feel a lot like, because it's set in the 80s, have I told you that? So I think that is the era that the author was at school in, and it very much does feel like the author is processing his experiences through these characters, which is lovely and therapeutic, but does not necessarily make an engaging story for the reader. But yeah, so it's Monday afternoon. I've just finished work. I'm walking Lewin in the last of the light, and then I need to clean my house, so probably we're going to carry on audiobooking. I might swap back to the Rachel Cusk for a little bit of a adulty time, potentially. Catch you later. Hi! The air fryer's on. That's annoying, isn't it? Let me move you. You have a choice between like slightly better lighting but more annoying sound, or I don't know. Here we are, we're fine. Hi. It's my lunch break. I'm making flatbread and falafel, but it's all just sorting itself out over there. And I thought I'll talk to you about books.
So, still feeling disappointed about Aristotle and Dante dive into the waters of the world. It is just feeling a little unnecessary and a little like it doesn't really know where it's going, which is a shame. However, I started listening to, I finished Aftermath by Rachel Cusk. So I had one essay to go on this. And I was so confused because I started listening to it and was like, this isn't an essay. And the last section is a short story, not an essay. It was quite a good short story for, me. It was about a woman who, I think from somewhere in Eastern Europe, I don't think she said, who comes over to be like an au pair nanny, live-in nanny, in a family that is sort of disintegrating a little bit. And it's sort of reflected the themes of some of the essays, but on the whole, I didn't really know what this collection was. It's sort of, the first essay was really brutal and visceral and kind of like really confronting. And then we just sort of went down a series of little rabbit holes that just sort of glanced at her life. And now I understand that she's obviously wanting to protect her children. It's a difficult thing to write a memoir about divorce, but also no one made you write a memoir about divorce. So some of it just felt a bit like vague, and some of the analogies a little much. So I don't know, but I did quite like that short story, which makes me think maybe I would like her fiction. Let me know if you've been on my channel a while and you kind of know what I like. Let me know if you think I'd like Rachel Cusk, because I can't tell. And then I started reading on audio Places I've Taken My Body by Molly McCully Brown, which is a personal memoir essay collection, which, if you remember, is one of my favorite kinds of like essay collections. Are very memoir-y based. I think the ones that get a bit too like ephemeral lose me a little bit, but I quite like ones that are just kind of like examining life and experience, if that's not too vague of a request. But these are really great. I'm really enjoying it so far. So Molly is a poet. She also has cerebral palsy, and a lot of this collection is her reflecting on her experiences, like within her body, and the various moments in her, or times in her life, where she's been made more or less aware of the limitations of her body and how that has made her feel. But it's been really interesting. So one essay in particular was fascinating because it also really taught me about something that I didn't really know about cerebral palsy, which is that when you're, oh look, the air fryer's finished. I mean, that does mean that my falafel is ready, but I'm on a roll. I'll carry on talking to you. When you are learning, right, start this again, brain, get in order. Okay, so the neurological pathways in your brain that help you develop your sense of direction and kind of like ability to navigate space are forged really young, normally around the time that children who are learning to walk within a sort of able-bodied age-related expectation, like what's that? I don't know anything about children, like between 1 and 2. Is that when most children learn how to walk? I don't remember. But your brain learns that and forges those pathways, at the time when most children are learning to walk. So your ability to move your body around is what informs your ability to kind of have a sense of location and a sense of direction. And because Molly didn't learn to walk until she was 4, her brain sort of missed that opportunity to form those pathways. And as a result, she's got a really limited sense of direction. She often can't recognize where she's been, or struggles to kind of orient herself in space, including like if she's lived somewhere for a really long time, she won't recognize sort of certain landmarks and how they fit together. And it's because those pathways are made in your brain when you are moving your body around, when you're beginning to sort of crawl and walk. And so because that was delayed for her, she didn't ever develop those skills. And that was so interesting to me. I mean, I neuroscience and things like that, if I think too much about them, my brain feels like it's going to cave in on itself. But like small sharp bits like that, I was like, that is so interesting. But she was talking in the context of like how that limits her feeling like she's at home sometimes, because she feels like she never really, even somewhere that she's lived for a really long time, she never really gets to feel like it's home, because she always feels a little bit alien because she kind of doesn't know where things are. And but so there was an essay on that, and there was also really interesting reflections on faith. So I think she was sort of raised Catholic adjacent, and then later in life sort of kind of rediscovers the Catholic Church, but feels really like uncool about it, and kind of a little bit like she kind of minimizes the importance of like her faith to herself, and she talks about the struggles with some of the doctrines. You know, when you're reading like a religious text that feels like every 5 pages we're celebrating the fact that you know, Jesus has healed the lame, and you're reading that as a person with a disability, like how you kind of reconcile those things inside yourself. So I listened to one essay on that, but I really like her writing style. I think it's really, really interesting, and like really, I'm finding so many ways that I am connecting to what she's talking about, even though my lived experience is very different to hers. I feel like that's a sign of a really good writer. So I'm really enjoying that. And I did listen. No, I didn't listen. I started reading. Well, I finished reading the first chapter of the Nick Cave book, and I am like fizzing with excitement about it. But I think I'm going to take it really slowly, because it's like every answer he's giving in this interview, there's like 5 things that I'm like, yeah, ooh. So I'm like, it's going to take me a while to get through it, because I keep stopping to be like, yes. But it's so interesting, because he's talking a lot in the first chapter about the evolution of his creative process. So he used to kind of write songs on his own and then present them to the band when they were sort of pretty much done. At least like the ideas and the concepts and the words behind them would be kind of done. And he moved in the like last sort of 4 or 5, last couple of albums at least, to writing more collaboratively with Warren Ellis, who has been in the band for a really long time. And he's talking about like the creative process of writing songs as being like one of like discovery, and that he has kind of like thoughts and ideas and like bits and pieces of words that float around in his head, or that are kind of that he knows he's going to bring into a room, but he doesn't like sit down to write the lyrics to a song anymore. They kind of improvise everything. And that was really interesting to me, because that is how I mean, I don't do this in collaboration with anyone, but that's how I write poetry, in the sense that like I can't just sit down and be like, I'm going to write a poem about this. I have had an idea and I'm going to write it down. I have to write like I have a notes app on my phone where I just like bung like anytime I have like, I don't know, like a nice word combination or something, or an idea that I want to explore or whatever. And then every so often I'll just sit down and do like a bunch of automatic writing, and it's often things that come out of that end up forming the basis of things that I write. And I used to always feel a bit like, I don't know, a little bit uncomfortable that was the process that made sense to me, because it felt like all of my creativity was kind of accidental and not considered. And Nick Cave's made me feel a lot better about that. So that's been nice. And yeah, I'm gonna eat my lunch now, because that flatbread is gonna be rock hard if I leave it in there any longer. And yeah, I will check in with you later. Bye.
So here we have flatbread, hummus, jalapenos, pickled cabbage, falafel, and homemade like harissa-ish dressing. Delish!
Morning. It's Wednesday. Just got out of bed. Trump's gonna win. Oh. He's currently, I mean, you'll know this by the time the video's up, but he's at this point in time, he's 3 electoral college votes away from the 270, with like a bunch of states that are gonna go red still to declare. So, and just like that, progress is undone. Amazing.
Nice vegetarian there. And it's all over you, kiddo.
And just like that, here we are, back where we started on a Wednesday evening, and I have read books. I have enjoyed reading books. So thank you for humouring me. Because I really think this has helped. I think the audiobooks have saved the day. I actually think non-fiction, as well as the YA, I think non-fiction was a really good like way in, because in lots of ways it's a bit easier to pick up and put down again. I find it easier to accept with non-fiction when I'm not in the mood for it. I think I often like push myself a bit more with fiction, and I think sometimes that doesn't help. But let me give you a little update on where the readings got to. So, finished Aristotle and Dante. Did I tell you that? I feel like I've mentioned, I've just literally just finished editing most of this video to just drop this like final bit in, and I already forgot if I told you that or not. It was fine. Realistically, I think it was probably like, I don't do star ratings, but it was probably like a 2-star. Not because it was bad, but just because I was so disappointed, because for me it was such a drop off from the first book. And I didn't actually clock how far apart they were published, but it did have like the long awaited sequel, and I was kind of like, yeah, you can tell that this was like not necessarily a planned sequel. So that was unfortunate. But I have read another chapter of the Nick Cave book, and actually that was really around creativity and spirituality, and Nick Cave kind of coming to accept that the grappling with doubt might be what religious experience is. And it was really interesting, because I am not a person who like has a faith, but I also wouldn't call myself an atheist. But it's, for me, it's not necessarily something that I find that I like grapple with or struggle with, but it clearly is for him. And it was fascinating to kind of read that and actually echo to some of the religious kind of essays in the Molly McCully Brown, which I am still really, really enjoying. I am taking little breaks because I do find with essay collections, even ones like that I'm really enjoying, like Places I've Taken My Body, I am really enjoying it. I kind of want to give each essay its moment to kind of sit in my mind before moving on to the next one, because I can already tell, even though I'm really loving the audiobook experience, I think it might be a book I do want to buy as well in like a physical copy, because I think I would revisit it. I think she's also just got some really beautiful turns of phrase that I'm not going to try and remember now. I was considering it. There's like parts of phrases that are rattling around in my brain, and I don't want to butcher it because she is a poet, so it will have been very well considered what she said. And yeah, they're beautiful. They're just the sorts of essays I like. I really like personal essays, but every essay has a purpose. It has a argument or an idea that it is really thoroughly exploring, but it's rooted in her personal experience. And I think that's really, for me, that's the kind of essay collection I like. That and like pop culture stuff, that they're really like my fave kinds. So I'm enjoying that one, but like I said, taking my time. And so because I was taking my time with it, I started another audiobook, and a fiction one this time, and I started reading Clear by Carys Davies. Now, I've heard quite a lot of buzz about this book. I know it was on a lot of people's predictions for the Booker and things like that. It's really short. The audiobook's like 3 hours. I think the print copy might be like 150 pages. Really loving it so far. Really, really enjoying it. It's set on a really remote island in the north of Scotland. I think it's like up in the Shetlands maybe, or I don't think it says. It might say on the blurb, but I haven't read the blurb, so. And it's set, oh God, she doesn't know the actual period of history. I want to say like mid to late 18th century, maybe earlier, maybe later, but it's when there was a breakaway from the Scottish, the main church in Scotland, and they broke away and they had the Free Church in Scotland. But it's kind of, it is important and it's not. The story is following two men. One is a man who lives on his own on this tiny, tiny island, and has been on his own, we think, for quite some time. And it's following him and a man who has come, who is part of this kind of new church, this breakaway church. But he's found himself low on money, so has accepted a job for a kind of, I think, like a sort of in-law family situation, to go and clear out people. And at this time in history, basically a lot of the landed gentry, the kind of the lairds and stuff, found that they were not making much of a profit off of the poor people that lived on their land as tenant farmers, and they realized they could just it would just make their lives easier if they got rid of all the tenant farmers and they just like had sheep and stuff and livestock, and that might be a better use of their space. So all of these people were basically forcibly removed from these land holdings on these like big estates, and kind of like sometimes sent to other parts of Scotland that were not necessarily equipped to deal with these people, and some of them were like sent to Australia, I think, or like to the colonies and stuff. So it was not a good time, and basically this guy has come to the island to basically eject this man, and that's the context. But it's really, really good. It is reminding me, I don't think I've done a very good job of selling it there, but it's reminding me so much of a book I loved earlier this year, Haven by Emma Donoghue. I think if you have read Haven and like it, then you should also read this. And I'm saying this not having finished the book. I'm a third of the way through over. I've listened to an hour of it. Really love the writing style, really like the voice. The audio performance is great. And it's quite slow moving, it's very introspective. While there is a lot of that context going on around it, I think the way that Carys Davies has been introducing that contextual element hasn't felt like info dumping. It's you've kind of learned that quite organically, so you don't get this like big setup at the start and then find out. You begin with the men and then you learn some of that context. A few chapters in, it's got really short chapters. I think that's why the audiobook is so quick. And yeah, really loving it. And I have been reading I did some work reading, didn't I? I started reading Rebels with a Cause by Niobe Way, who is a academic and researcher in social psychology, but she does a lot of work with masculinity and boys, and particularly around like friendships and the way that boys are socialized out of thinking that they need close friendships, and that some of the problematic behaviors that result are connected to that kind of unmet social need, which is really interesting. And it's not like I'm not loving the book. It's like it's a lot of, she uses a lot of testimony, and some of it is feeling a little repetitive. I think there's like a huge amount to be said for quoting people in their own words, but like sometimes it's like pages and pages of like, this boy said, this boy said, this boy said, and I'm like, you're the expert. I would love it if you could interpret some of this. Like, tell me what I should be pulling out here, which she does do, but it's kind of few and far between. But I think because I was reading it for work, I was kind of like, I'm a bit more impatient with my reading when I'm reading for work, because I really just want like the salient facts. But it was good, and I read a few different journal articles and bits and pieces. So I'm feeling like I had a productive work reading time. And I have been in the background plugging away with The Wheel of Time. I did pick that back up. I struggled with that one because I think it's like the maybe 9th or 10th in the series. And the prologue was like nearly 100 pages. And so it just took me so long to get through the prologue that I felt like I was like running through treacle. And I'm like, why did you do this, Robert Jordan? Actually, is it bad that I'm really looking forward to the ones in the series that were actually written by Brandon Sanderson? Maybe that's sacrilege. It's okay. I don't think I have too many diehard Robert Jordan fans on this channel. Sorry if that's you and you're now really offended. So there we are. That's been the reading. It's ended up being really good. I'm a week into November and I have already read more than I read last month. So that's feeling nice. It isn't about the numbers, but it is about how I feel about my reading, and I am feeling way better. I'm going to stick with majority nonfiction, I think. I don't think I'm going to push the fiction, because I actually think it was the fiction that did me in the end. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. Because I'm not forcing things, I didn't start filming and won't be filming an impatient reading vlog for November. I'm hopefully going to come back and do one in December, like the last of the year, so that I can wrap up the year. But I decided not to do one for this month because it felt too close to slumpy territory and I wanted to just carry on vibing. So I don't really know what content is going to be coming up on my channel in the immediate future. I think me and Farms are maybe going to try and do a book to screen. I kind of want to do a book to screen of the Outrun. And we want to do small things like these, the Claire Keegan. So some of those might be coming up, and I think I really want to re-listen to Wolf Hall, but I think what I'm gonna do is maybe do a video where I see how many craft projects I can finish in the duration of Wolf Hall, if that's of any interest to you. I kind of like the idea of only listening to an audiobook when I'm doing a specific task to see how much of the task I get done for the duration of the audiobook. That's the plan. So I think I'm going to record that, but God knows what will find its way up onto my channel next week. It will be a mystery to me. But I don't know, subscribe to my channel if you want to find out. And if that hasn't sold it to you, I totally understand. It's fine. I'm gonna go now. I never know how to finish these bloody things. See you later. Bye.